Well, welcome to another Lighting the Candle, a world that works. I'm Bill Carell, and I'm on here with three of my favorite people in the entire universe, and that would be Lisa Sheehan, also a new friend, Jan Jeremias, and then my old brother from Holy Mount. I can't even remember when we first met, but it seems like at least 7, 8 years ago. Ken Caputo. So, what are we doing here? Well, when we're doing it, we're having conversations to kind of light the world up and get people excited about being alive again in the face of all of the things in the world that don't seem to be working. And so we've got, in my opinion, we have some work cut out for us today because there's a whole lot of things in the world right at the moment that are that fall into that category of it ain't okay. So, with that said, I thought maybe today we could talk about. Um, well, first of all, would y'all just join me in having a moment of silence in honor of friends and family and all the folks over in Europe, not just Ukraine, because this is having a hell of a impact on Russians as well, all of the Europeans, especially the ones that are in border states and everything. Nobody's life is as it was 3 weeks ago. And with that in mind, could we just have a few moments of silence? Okay, folks, when you're hearing this, we were sending all that intentionality to you in particular. You're the one that's listening right now. I can hear your thoughts. Um, we're in different times, but you're there and I'm here, along with these beautiful people. So our intentions and our intentionality is extremely powerful. And being metaphysical beings and our spirits that don't cast a shadow are every bit as important and every bit as real as the bodies that we have that do cast a shadow. So now that I've kind of opened up the box, um, how do we go from being in a situation of um, I'm going to do a little weather reporting here. Most of the folks that I have talked to about in the last 3 or 4 days that have relatives. I have many friends that are Ukrainian in the United States. Um, where I live, and Ken is aware of this as well. We have a very large Ukrainian population here in the greater Willimantic-Windham area, throughout Mansfield, etc. Second, third, fourth generation Ukrainians that came over to work in the factories in the 50s and 60s, and they've thrived, and they still are very their culture is alive and well in terms of the social aspect. And at the same time, there's a very interesting perspective to be brought here where I don't really experience people who are looking for folks to feel sorry for them in any way, shape, or manner. Quite the opposite. All of the folks that I have talked to are saying things like, we'll prevail. We're going to get through this. Yeah, this is hard, harder than anything we've ever had to do. And our families and the rest of that are all at risk. And we're going to win. And that's with no evidence. You know what I mean? That's like extremely amazing. And I know, Ken, um, lately we've been talking about how the key to really getting the life that you deserve is going to be by overcoming, you know, the obstacles in life and not being um, at the mercy of, it's that old, you want to be the blender or you want to be the frog in the blender. It's always better to be the blender. But in this type of situation where we're really talking the psychology of what it takes for human beings to get out of bed every single morning, and the things that we're seeing, the stories that are being shared, and the inhumanity, I think everyone involved with this is you know, well, I'm going to take a breath in a minute, but we're all hearing different reports and stories. And at the moment, I have a small crew, probably a dozen, 15 different Ukrainians and Baltic nationals that are in the United States now and are either have become naturalized citizens or are dual citizenship or are just here on visas because they own businesses or are building things. Um, that's kind of it. Anybody have some thoughts in terms of how this is striking you in particular? What you've seen, what you've heard?
Well, I think it's heart-wrenching at best. Um, I like to, like they always say, look for the good, um, which is a positive way to look at things. I have my nephew was adopted from Ukraine, so my sister and her husband went there a little over 18 years ago and brought him back. And he's a college freshman now, so he's that of that age where if you when we ask him when my sister asked him how he felt, kind of gingerly asking the question, and he just typical teenager kind of thing says, "I'm too busy. I don't even know, what to think about it," kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I know on other college campuses because I have a teammate, and we have tea and a conversation every week, and she's a senior at Amherst College, and I know they do a whole bunch of different things because of what's going on in Ukraine. So
Yep.
it's kind of interesting how just from that perspective, from a freshman or from a college student perspective, how it could be so different. For one little point,
Thank you.
come on, Ken.
I it's been an interesting reflection on being human in all of its you know its devastation and inspiration, and you see that, I mean, there are just as many stories of, horrific things as there are inspirational things, and that's, you know it's kind of funny how question I keep asking is when will it all create the fertile ground for an actual evolutionary step? So like if you were to study ancient Rome and 2000 years ago and the politics and the things that were done, it is exactly like it is today. Globally, there's really not been any change in people's relationship to power, and some abuse it and some don't, and some people are more we conscious and some do very selfish things, and so there really hasn't been any change. And I live in this world of eternal optimism that the resistance that's created and the obstacles that we are navigating will in some way elevate us as a species on the other side. So so there's a lot of heart, in all of it, and it's an interesting roller coaster because you hear one thing and it's an act of bravery or passion, and up you go, and then you hear something horrific and down you go, and and it's all just inextricably linked to being human.
I think I've been hearing a lot about from friends that really are asking people to get at least here to get involved. Whether that's where the people I know are coming from is like how much awareness or how much um financially to get involved or to donate. So that's where I hear it. And I think that, like Lisa said, I always try to think of something positive that might come. And I think that the only thing that kept on coming to my mind is, especially in this country, could this be a way for people to unite once again? And I was reminded of different situations. I mean, especially because I was in the city after 9/11, and because I worked for the city at that time. And the fact that people were hugging people they didn't know, it was just like this real unifying force that kind of brought people together. And that's what I keep on thinking about, this is, could this be finally something that not only unites this country, which I feel needs it, but unites everyone?
I think that's a marvelous question. And as difficult it is and if you're listening to this, you can hear this is a hard topic for us to embrace and talk about. We can't do it freely or with the fluidity that we would if we were describing a UConn basketball game or something of that nature. This is one of those things that is just extremely difficult, to be with, like a failure to be in the moment of knowing that there are people in the world, and there always are people in the world that are having a bad time and being taken advantage. As Ken said, we're getting a lot of emphasis focused on this. We have a middle class country. Ukraine is not a poor country by any stretch of the imagination. These people are like you and me, sitting in our living rooms today, putting our posts on Facebook. They were doing that 3 weeks ago. Fat, dumb, and happy. And then all of a sudden, they have to go to the street. They have to gather up. And in many cases, they didn't bring their pets. They didn't bring any of the valuables. They got out of their home with their lives and their loved ones. And then just on the faith of we're strong people, we'll get where we're going to go. It's a remarkable set of circumstances. I can't picture any of us making up a story like this. It's just so outside the bounds of what people would expect, intend, want, or absolutely be a party to creating. So agreed. But they say the cauldron of failure, the cauldron of abject inability to cope, or in that complete moment of despair, that's what creates the next opportunity to kind of rise and move on to a different plane. And wouldn't it be great if one of the outcomes of this is that we're all kind of fed up with the nonsense and we just don't have any room for it anymore in our lives, with people having silly disagreements over things that really don't matter? From the standpoint of having arguments for the sake of having arguments, it seems like those conversations that went on 2-3 weeks ago, where people were arguing politics or ideology or just about anything really, wherever any of those arguments were that were more about making a point and less about making the world a better place. Is it time that in some space that we're going to create here, that something new will rise up, and it will be the kind of thing that kind of shapes the growth of human beings in a different direction again? Or will the culture that's been somewhat similar, as Ken says, going all the way back to Rome and Greece and the Phoenicians and Persians and all, where it just gets swallowed back up again and is now just part of what happened, like 9/11. During 9/11, there were so many people, everyone lost somebody that they knew or had part of their family. Everyone had someone who it was an impact to them, and we all could experience that in a very personal and visceral fashion. This is that sort of thing again, because these folks